Scout cookie time. And if you guys like Girl Scout cookies, Strange Brew Coffee House now offers Girl Scout cookie frappes at all locations, including Samoa, Thin Mint, and Tagalong. Delicious frappes are made with real Girl Scout cookies. Strange Brew Coffee House can be found at the University of Alabama campus, also up in Tupelo, Mississippi, if you are heading up there to Tupelo, or their home location over in Starkville, Mississippi. Go by and get a delicious Girl Scout cookie frappe today at one of the Strange Brew Coffee House locations. And then there were four teams left vying for a shot of college basketball's grandest prize, the national championship. UConn, Alabama, Purdue, and North Carolina State. We will get in there and discuss how we all got to this point and preview the Final Four matchups, which national sports columnist Doug Gottlieb will join us on this edition of the Stingray Show. Guys, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get things rocking and rolling.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
For 75 years and counting, the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op has been serving West Alabama for all of their hunting, outdoor, gardening, and farming needs, as well as seasonal flowers and vegetables. And this year is no different. The Spring Co-op Plant Sale goes on from March the 25th through May the 11th. Pick any 5 for $20. Mix any varieties. That is the Spring Plant Sale at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. The Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op is located in Northport, Alabama, just west of the Highway 82 and 43 intersection at 4301 McFarland Boulevard in Northport. Go by there and see them today for their spring plant sale, March the 25th through May the 11th, only at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. And ladies and gentlemen, with all of that, we want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. And yes, another week of amazing content from the Stingray Show. And I do want to start off by saying this. I hope every single person that is listening to this show had an amazing Easter yesterday.
Yeah, you know, a lot of things are going on, Stephen. I mean, Alabama in the Final Four. Major League Baseball just started. Yep. Spring football's underway. The road to WrestleMania happens this weekend.
Yes.
You know, there's so much going on. The Masters is coming up. So with that, a lot of stuff. But, Stephen, I'm very happy for all the students there at the University of Alabama. I was in college when Mississippi State went to the Final Four, and it was just a magical time. Campus was electric. Everybody was beside themselves. It's a super special time for everybody, just not the basketball team. But I'm the happiest for the students. You old people that graduated, I'm happy for you too, but not as happy for the students.
Yes.
For these students that pay their money to go to the University of Alabama, to be in school when your team goes to the Final Four, it is a super special time and place.
So, Heath, I would love to know how many normal people, and I'm not talking about Alabama fans, and I'm not talking about North Carolina State fans. I'm talking about just regular basketball fans had Alabama and North Carolina State as two teams in the Final Four. I can almost guarantee you not very many unless you are an Alabama fan or a North Carolina State fan.
I'm going to say there's absolutely nobody on this planet.
Yes.
I feel very safe and confident saying there might have been some folks that had NC State in their Final Four. Okay.
Yeah.
There might have been some people that had Alabama in their Final Four. Okay.
But not
there was nobody on this planet.
Yes.
That had both of those teams. That had the Wolfpack and the Tide in the Final Four. There was nobody.
But I will say this, though. A lot of people did have UConn and Purdue because both of those teams traded the number one spot throughout the season of college basketball, and those two teams were, without a doubt, the best two teams throughout this entire basketball season.
Yeah, I think I had UConn and Purdue in my Final Four, along with Arizona, and who else did I have in there? I can't remember. I'll pull my bracket up here in a minute, but yeah, I mean, it's this is why we love March Madness. We've got all the madness. This is just a fun time. And so, but for all those students, I mean, Stephen, I'll go back to 1996 when I was a student. Mississippi State made the Final Four. It was the closest thing to a heavenly homecoming I think you can imagine. Everybody was embracing. Strangers were embracing. Everyone was hugging each other. There were smiles and laughter and yells of joy and people just going crazy. There were people hanging out on their balconies, people on the sidewalks. I remember driving my Chevy Blazer and with the window down, giving high fives to the other cars coming in opposite traffic. Yeah. I mean, it was just a crazy time. It was just a crazy time. And it probably lasted, 2 hours, but the whole week, the whole entire week was just electric. So proud, super proud for all those Bama students that get to enjoy that. And campus is going to be super fun this week. It's going to be super, super fun.
Heath, I hate to be a downer here, but if you're Alabama, that is the worst draw that you could get. Playing a team that has blown out every single opponent up until this point in the tournament. A much better matchup for the Alabama Crimson Tide would have been the Illinois team that lost to UConn because UConn has size and they can also shoot the three lights out. So that is a very bad matchup for Alabama, and especially because Alabama lacks the size underneath, and that has been a kryptonite of Alabama a lot this season.
Yeah, here's the fun thing, Stephen. You never know when your opponent's going to have an off night. You just never know. And there's been plenty of Final Fours where teams have off nights. So will Alabama have the off night? We don't know. Will UConn have the off night? We don't know. But someone's not going to play at their very best. And you just don't know when that's going to happen. So, I'm never big on playing games on paper. I don't care about it. Let's do it on the court. Let's do it on the field and get the real champion. So, but this is how I look at it, Stephen. We come this far, we might as well just finish this thing out. I mean, here's the crazy thing, Stephen. Are you ready for this? When you get to the Elite Eight, you're only halfway there. You're only halfway. You've got to win the Elite Eight game, the Final Four game, and the championship. You had to win 3 games to get to the Elite Eight. So you pass the halfway point. You're 2 games away. Bama's won 2 games back-to-back many times this season. Just why not? Let's just finish it out.
And also, speaking of football, on Saturday, the Stallions got their first win in the new UFL League by beating the former champions of the XFL right there in Birmingham.
I completely forgot about that, Stephen. I completely forgot about the XFL.
Yes.
Getting going this weekend. Or the UFL.
UFL. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the UFL. They took the USFL, the XFL, combined them to the UFL.
And by the way, Your team up there, the Memphis Showboats, really put it on Houston yesterday. And I will tell you, Vince Papala's son played one heck of a game for the Memphis Showboats. So Heath, hold that thought because we're up against our first break, and when we come back, we are going to continue to dive into the NCAA tournament with Doug Gottlieb a little bit later on. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with the Stingray Show. Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Do you guys like to fish? I know I do, and if you have a pond or lake in your backyard that needs stocking of fish, you need to contact biologist Jeff Bagwell with Honey Hole Fisheries. He can help you stock your lake with bluegill, largemouth bass, and hybrid striped bass. You can get in touch with Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Honey Hole Fisheries, 205-799-0192. Contact Mr. Jeff Bagwell today and let him help you build the lake of your dreams. Do you guys dream about owning a home or a condominium down on the beautiful beaches of Alabama, say Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, or maybe even Fairhope? Then let me tell you about First Class Real Estate South Home Group's owner, Celeste Hagler. She has brokers down there in the beautiful beaches of Alabama to help you purchase the home of your dreams and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste Hagler at 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to help you live where you love in the state of Alabama.
Find Tide on Twitter at Tide109 to keep up with show announcements, guests, and our reporters in the field.
Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you guys. And Heath, we're going to transition off of college basketball just for a minute and talk about the Diamond. And did you happen to see what was announced earlier this morning when the new D1 baseball rankings came out?
I did not. What are you referring to, Stephen?
Mississippi State, the Bulldogs, entered the top 25 for the first time this season. They are ranked 23rd. Also, the Alabama Crimson Tide move up to 13th nationally in the new poll by D1 Baseball.
Yeah, D1, I trust them more than anybody. Mississippi State's been ranked in all the other polls, even up to 16 in some of the other polls. When they made just a joke out of LSU, number 2 LSU.
Yeah.
They moved them on up. But, it looks like the SEC is a little bit stronger than what we thought in baseball, and that says a lot because we knew that the SEC is always strong in baseball. Usually, 3 or 4 teams from the SEC are in Omaha every year, and this time around, it looks like it's going to be a big festive with SEC teams and postseason play to the road of Omaha this year. So, yeah, look out, man. It's going to be a fun season. I mean, we're 3 weekends into it, 7 more to go. So We're starting to separate the men from the boys right now, Stephen.
Heath, I do want to ask you about this because you followed baseball a whole lot longer than I have because I'm pretty much new to the sport because recently I was just football and basketball. What is it about the national championship teams? The next year, they have a disastrous season. We saw it with Mississippi State. We saw it with Ole Miss. And now, unfortunately, we are seeing it with the LSU Tigers, who after this past weekend dropped to a conference record of 2-7.
Yeah, it's not good, Stephen.
It is not good at all.
I said at the beginning of the year on this show that I think LSU was going to take a big step back.
And they did.
And everyone,
they have so far.
and everyone kind of questioned me about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, look, you don't have a once-in-a-generation talent like Paul Skeens pitching on Friday night who went undefeated last year. You know how hard it is just to win a baseball game, much less go undefeated in the SEC on Friday night? You're facing the other team's best pitcher every Friday night. And so with that, I was like, I just don't see it with LSU this year. And they lost some talent from last year's team. I don't think they lost that much, but I thought they were going to take a step back.
Yeah.
And they are exactly the team that I thought they were going to be. They really are. They're still a good team, but they're nowhere. They're good. They're not great, and they're not outstanding.
Right.
So with that, as far as winning the national title and falling off, Stephen, this is a new trend. This is a new trend in college baseball. I don't know why Mississippi State decided to do it, and Ole Miss followed it up, and LSU's falling in line. I have no idea. Here's the funny thing, Stephen. Mississippi State, prayed and just said, just let me win this one time. Let me win this one national title. Yes. You can, we can be terrible afterwards. Just let us win. And then Ole Miss prayed, can we be just like Mississippi State?
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know what's going on, man. I really don't know what's going on. It is crazy to see this happen. And Stephen, all SEC West teams, and just boom, boom, boom. But makes you kind of wonder for Arkansas, because I think this might be Arkansas's year. Yes. I know I've said that more than once. I know a lot of people have said that more than once. Arkansas, if they can manage that pitching staff, and that's been Arkansas's problem over the years. They don't manage that pitching staff too well. They get to postseason play. They got some dead arms. Dead arms equal losses. And that's the whole thing. But it's going to be fun, Stephen. It's going to be a fun run. 7 more SEC weekends to go.
Can you tell me, switching to the other side of the conference, can you tell me the 2 teams in fighting for last place over in the East?
I would guess it's Georgia and Missouri.
Yes. Missouri, 1-8 in conference play. Georgia sits there with a record of 4-5. And Georgia had an opportunity to take the series from Tennessee this past weekend and just could not get it done at the plate.
To the exception of the ACC, you put Georgia in any other conference, maybe the Pac. Georgia's a top 5 team in that conference.
They are. Yeah.
Georgia, I mean, if you look what Georgia's doing in midweek games, you look at Georgia's RPI and their Ken Palm rating, outstanding, phenomenal. But they get to SEC play and they're just getting whooped. They're just getting whooped.
Now, Heath, staying with baseball and going to the hometown team, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama starts off the season with a series win over Tennessee. Then they go on the road and get swept 3 games at Georgia. Then they come back home this past weekend and take 2 of 3, which is the series versus South Carolina. Next weekend, starting on Friday, they are on the road at the Batcats, the leaders of the SEC East, up in Lexington for a 3-game series with Kentucky. For Alabama, they cannot afford to get swept on the road again like they did against Georgia.
Yeah, here's the unwritten rule, and we talked about this on the show last week. Here's the unwritten rule in the SEC. If you just go 2-1 in home series in the SEC, and you can go 1-2 on the road in SEC series, you're now on the chance to even host a regional, if not be a number 2 team in a regional somewhere. That's all you got to do is go 15-15 in the SEC play, and you're going to be in outstanding shape. You just can't get swept. You can't lose a home series. Those are the 2 no-nos you just can't do. You cannot lose a series at home, and you can't get swept on the road.
Alabama has won 2 series at home, and their only sweep so far has been on the road. But I will tell you, after Kentucky, it does not get any easier, because the following weekend, the Hogs of Arkansas invade Tuscaloosa. That's going to be a huge series for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, anytime Arkansas comes to town, it's a big weekend. Arkansas has just – they haven't won a national title. They haven't been at the top. And they're just that team right there that they do everything right. They just can't win it all. And they've been the most consistent team in the SEC. They just can't win it all. So with that being said, Arkansas, man, you never want to go to their place. You never want to see them come to your town.
Okay, so to finish up, before we go to break, I do want to mention the remaining home series for the Alabama Crimson Tide for this baseball season. Arkansas is at home. Texas A&M is at home. Ole Miss and Mississippi State, both of them are on the road. And then they follow up with LSU at home. And finally, they finish off the SEC with their arch rivals, Auburn.
Yeah, one thing I do want to point out, Stephen, Vanderbilt, they were at the bottom of the SEC East last weekend. They're 6-3 right now. 6-3. You got to watch Vandy. They started slow. They didn't look good. They haven't been impressive. Yeah, they've been up and down. Absolutely, they've been up and down. But they look like they have kind of figured some things out. Vandy, watch out. That could be dangerous. Still not shocked about the Batcats. Batcats sitting there at 8-1 in conference play. Arkansas sitting there at 8-1 in conference play. Last year, Kentucky surprised me. I said it's not going to happen 2 years in a row. I got my own Kentucky.
All right.
Batcats, man, you got to watch out for those guys.
So, Heath, go ahead and rest your voice, because I know that you are fighting a cold. And when we come back, we are going to transition into the Final Four talks with Doug Gottlieb. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with national radio host Doug Gottlieb. Go ahead and get you a sinus cocktail, Heath.
I got one the other day, man.
It is Girl Scout cookie time. And if you guys like Girl Scout cookies, Strange Brew Coffee House now offers Girl Scout cookie frappes at all locations, including Samoa, Thin Mint, and Tagalong. Delicious frappes are made with real Girl Scout cookies. Strange Brew Coffee House can be found at the University of Alabama campus, also up in Tupelo, Mississippi. If you are heading up there to Tupelo, or their home location over in Starkville, Mississippi, go by and get a delicious Girl Scout cookie frappe today at one of the Strange Brew Coffee House locations. Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the four-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the four-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. Are you looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by name? Then we invite you to get to know our friends at Bryant Bank. Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking accessible around the clock to give you the freedom and flexibility to bank your way, all backed by the people you know and trust. Get to know your Bryant banker at one of the 4 Tuscaloosa locations today. Bryant Bank, an equal housing lender, and as always, a member of the FDIC.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
Are Are you looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by name? Then we invite you to get to know our friends at Bryant Bank. Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking accessible around the clock to give you the freedom and flexibility to bank your way, all backed by the people you know and trust. Get to know your Bryant banker at one of the 4 Tuscaloosa locations today. Bryant Bank, an equal housing lender, and as always, a member of the FDIC. Welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you. And now we are about to get to our very special guest this evening, who is always busy, but is extremely busy this time of the year because he is an insider and a national sports radio host of his own show. And he also played a little college basketball. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome back to the Stingray Show from sunny California, Mr. Doug Gottlieb. Doug, how in the world are things with you this morning?
Good. Bright and early here in Southern California. Heath, Stingray. Good to catch up with you guys.
Thank you.
Always, Doug, always. Doug, you played for the great Eddie Sutton, right?
Yeah.
Did Eddie Sutton ever talk about the challenges that it was like to coach at Kentucky? Because people here in the SEC are just not letting this Calipari story go. And I'm like, guys, I never thought he was going to go anywhere, but people aren't letting it go. But
what Calipari story? They owe him $33 million.
Yes.
It ain't a Calipari story. It's a money story.
There you go. But, Coach Sutton, who I thought was a great coach, and it is a great coach. He's a legend. But has he ever opened up and talked about the struggles of what it's like to coach at Kentucky?
He did. He talked about what it was like to coach at Kentucky. My dad was his assistant at Creighton.
Okay.
Creighton, then he didn't follow him to Arkansas, then Arkansas, obviously, to Kentucky. But we had like one really interesting conversation where he talked about it. And obviously he didn't share the issues with his alcoholism, although those were pretty well documented. But he talked about how different it was. He was following Joe B. Hall, and
right.
He was actually, they wanted him to kind of clean up the program. Joe B. had 360 season tickets. He had 12. So he had to go to 340 some odd people and say, hey, you're not getting your tickets anymore.
Wow.
And, it was his thing was like, you turn people on me because you didn't want to give them free tickets anymore. So, but listen, it's a job that is very financially rewarding, potentially professionally rewarding. No one goes into that job not knowing that it's going to be a lot.
Right.
There's expectations that are incredible. And if you don't want that job, that's fine. But if you want that job, you got to know that's what comes with it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, Doug, now that we are sitting here looking at the Final Four, would you please go on ahead and give us your thoughts on the overall NCAA tournament and give us a couple of the highlights that you liked through this tournament so far?
Well, I mean, I think specifically for your guys, fans and listeners and viewers, if you haven't noticed, the SEC has changed.
Oh, yeah.
And it is, I think, probably the most watchable brand of basketball. It's interesting. It's like when the Big 12 became this, let's just spread, throw it out, almost run oop to you. Felt like the old whack days. People in the SEC are like, hey, you got to play defense to win championships. And you do, I think, to win a national championship. Even Nate Oates would tell you that. But whether it's because of the coaches, the coaching style, or because of the athletes that the league has, Tennessee and Alabama, that's just tip of the iceberg. As you guys know, Kentucky, great, fun offense to watch. Auburn, fun offensive style to watch. The whole league isn't there yet, but it's getting there, and it's definitely a trend. I think anybody who knows basketball watches. So the first thing is, I thought the SEC, while two teams in the Elite Eight, one in the Final Four, isn't necessarily what the league probably thinks ultimately will get to. I think we're like a year away or 2 years away from probably separation of the big boys and everybody else with the elimination of the COVID year seniors. But I do think SEC trending towards being an unbelievable offensive league is fun and something that's good for the league and something that let's see what Texas and Oklahoma do when they bring the league next year. Overall, obviously, big men still work in college basketball where they don't work as much. Traditional big guys don't work as much in the NBA. I think both of those trends will continue. I think it makes big guys and undersized guards in the portal being really, really valuable. And then the last part is like, you can't win with kids. Nobody plays with kids. I mean, Cal's right. You can't win with kids. And some of that, like, look, Cooper Flagg, maybe you can win with him next year at Duke. But you better surround him with some veteran guys, especially some veteran guards. I mean, you look at these NC State team, and they're all, 23, 24 years old, kind of vagabonds, if you will. Now, they didn't have a great year, but they put it together at the end. And I think being older, there's a reason you put it together at the end when you're older, where there's something unique about these 5th and 6th year seniors. If you walk into a college basketball locker room, and I do this, you speak to kids and you go, hey, man, how many of you guys think you're playing the NBA? Like, they all put their hands up. I mean, the math doesn't say that. I mean, even Kentucky, every guy doesn't play in the NBA. But once you get to being a 5th and 6th year guy, this is as good as it gets, right? And you kind of surrender yourself to the game. You surrender, and and when you're at your third school, oftentimes, like, you don't have to put on a front. You can just be who you are. Just go play ball. Be a good dude. Show up on time. Like, it ain't that hard, right? You're not going to class anymore. You just go play. And I think that allows guys to relax and hoop. And it's one of the reasons so many of them have been successful.
So, Doug, you obviously played basketball. A lot of Tennessee fans are still griping today about the preferential treatment that Zach Edey got in the Elite Eight game yesterday. In your opinion, how is the best way to defend Zach Edey? And do you ultimately see the Tennessee fans having an issue with what happened yesterday?
Well, look, I've done a bunch of Purdue games, and I can tell you that they all look similar. In order for him to be at his best, he has to set up shop, especially at that left block. Look, Tennessee lost that game because they did not what's called tag him.
Yes.
Tag him on rolls. There was about 5 plays there in the second half late where Braden Smith comes off and he's rolling to the paint, and a couple times it was Dalton Connect, a couple times it was a couple of the other guys, but you have to stand him up and not allow him to just roll. And now look, what you give up in that is, for a second, the weak side corner is open and Braden Smith will find that guy. One of the things that and I understand what the scouting report says, okay, and they did a great job of running Purdue off the 3-point line and not give them a ton of looks, because the 2 ways they beat you are throw the ball into Zach Edey and kick it out for 3-pointers. Like, that's their whole. And then Braden Smith driving to the basket. That's really their game. When Rick watches the tape, he'll be appalled at their team's lack of physicality on him when he's rolling. You got to meet force with force. And look, are some of the calls embarrassing? Yeah. He's really hard to officiate. It's really hard to officiate because you can't tell, like, is he getting fouled? Is he fouling them? It's really, really difficult. And I got to check who the officiating crew is. I wonder how many times those officials have officiated him. It's hard. So of course they have a gripe, but that was a winnable basketball game. And I thought that Tennessee didn't do the things it needed to do defensively. And then offensively, in all honesty, Rick has never been super ornate. He doesn't do what Alabama does. And I thought, obviously you want to go to Dalton Connect, but a lot of what they did was very, very elementary, just like one pin down into a shot or one ball screen into a play. Whereas if you watch Alabama and a lot of these a lot of the newer, more NBA style offenses, you're talking about multiple actions, and multiple actions I think are a lot harder to line up and play against than what Rick was doing. But I really think if you wanted to nail it down, Rick would tell you that they didn't defend that ball screen well at the end of the game. That's why they lost. It ain't because of the officials.
So, Doug, hold that thought because we're up against our final break. And when we come back, we are going to dive into the final 4 matchups. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with Doug Gottlieb.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Tuesday. Dad'll be back. We'll discuss what Alabama's done making the Final Four. It's 7:30. Kevin Skarbinski will join us. We'll talk about all the teams that will be out in Phoenix, and we'll look forward to having your phone calls throughout the show.
Inside the Locker Room, weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
For 75 years and counting, the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op has been serving West Alabama for all of their hunting, outdoor, gardening, and farming needs, as well as seasonal flowers and vegetables. And this year is no different. The Spring Co-op Plant Sale goes on from March the 25th through May the 11th. Pick any 5 for $20. Mix any varieties. That is the Spring Plant Sale at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. The Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op is located in Northport, Alabama, just west of the Highway 82 and 43 intersection at 4301 McFarland Boulevard in Northport. Go by there and see them today for their Spring Plant Sale, March the 25th through May the 11th, only at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. Are you guys sick and tired of spending $100 to $200 to $300 on a nice meal? If that's the case, then you need to go by a place that keeps a little money in your pocket. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats, which features Black Angus prime selection of steaks. You can find them at 3201 10th Avenue, right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats is a company that believes in great customer service, fair pricing, and a place where you are appreciated. Go by and see them today right there at South's Finest Meats. Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC.
Never miss a moment of the action. Download the free Tide 100.9 app today.
Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama, at the four-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the four-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods.
Welcome back, SEC fans. You're listening to the Stingray Show here on Tide 100.9. Our very special guest is Doug Gottlieb. Doug, not the players, but as far as coaches, who has done an excellent job coaching in this tournament? Who is somebody that you think has really been on their game as a coach, having their team prepared, executing? Well, obviously the players execute, but get their team to execute. Who have you seen that just like, wow, they really had a game plan and that really pushed them over? Does a team jump out to you?
No, I don't think you can't win 4 games unless you know what you're doing.
There you go.
That doesn't magically happen. But I do think, there's a lot of talk nationally of Alabama, what they do offensively. There's an assistant named Ryan Pannone who's part of the new staff there. You know, you got an all new staff there. And what they're doing and how they're playing is out. It's a fun watch. You can see the European influences. You can see the NBA influences in it. If you know what you're watching for, you're like, man, they do a good job. And everybody, you know, you go back to last year and even this year, I think UConn obviously does the same thing. You know, what's impressive about UConn is, and Alabama does the same to a certain extent, but UConn just, you know, they weren't great in the Elite Eight offensively, but then they just defensively were incredible.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of their defensive style is a lot like you see from Creighton and you see from Purdue. When you have a big guy, especially in college basketball, you can funnel everything to him and force everybody to take mid-range shots. And so it takes some discipline. But, I mean, UConn, Alabama, they jump out at you. NC State, what they've done, I don't think it's not like NC State, what they've done in terms of preparation or offensive style is anything special, but you also understanding what you have and how to use it. You know, they changed point guards. They put Michael O'Connell in as starting point guard before the ACC tournament. And he's a grad transfer from Stanford, former lacrosse player, and he's just solid. And so understanding that just because a guy is 5 points a game, he helps you win because he doesn't require maintenance. You don't have to run plays for him. And then obviously playing through DJ Burns and their spacing, just running ISOs for him. Like, that's smart coaching. It may sound really easy, but it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to have something special. If you win the games, that's all that matters. And then I thought they were really physical yesterday with Duke. So, I mean, you're not here unless you know what you're doing. That's the reality to it. And, you know, Purdue, their coaching is more in some of the sets that they run obviously work. They figured out how to get that roll action going against Tennessee. But a lot of theirs is in their culture and in their focus and the fact that they don't vary. And when they got down to Tennessee, they didn't panic. So there's great coaching across the board, and you're not in the Final Four unless your staff knows what they're doing.
So, Doug, let's start right there. You just talked about it. DJ Burns against Zach Edey. The first game of the Final Four on Saturday at 5 o'clock is going to be NC State versus Purdue. How do you see that game playing out, and who moves on to the final game?
Purdue moves on.
Okay.
This will not be a great game. Okay. You know, the one thing NC State can do that'll be interesting is I think, you know, Middlebrooks plays like a lot of those Purdue guys where he just kind of throws his body around, and so they can match their physicality some. But DJ Burns is not scoring on Edey.
Right.
The bully ball stuff does not work against Zach Edey. He's so big. He's gigantic, and you just can't do that. I think it's a terrible matchup for NC State.
Yeah.
I think Purdue wins.
All right. The late game, UConn, Alabama. Do you think Alabama is a type of team that can slow down this dominant run that UConn has had in this tournament?
If there's a style, the style that beats them is one that uses the three-point line a ton, is one that has a big that can step out and make Donovan Clingan guard him. If they can make shots, they could beat them.
Okay.
I wouldn't gamble my hard-earned money on the money line that they're going to.
Okay.
But absolutely they can beat them. Now, you know, what gives me pause is they're young. They're young in some spots. You know, they're playing some young guys like Sam Walters, who I love. I got a chance to coach him in a camp out here. I mean, I love the kid, but like he's a year or 2 years away from being a great player. But it's gonna be really hard in that game because outside of Castle, they're all old there too. But yes, this is a style that could you know, if Grant Nelson can make shots and make plays, like Donovan Clingan's not a great inside scorer.
Right.
He's just not. You know, he is a very good shot blocker. And but I also thought that the attack that Illinois had was dumb. Like they're just kind of driving up like, here, we're going to finish. You have to have creative finishing package. Remember, you got a whole week to prepare for it.
Right.
And so, I think Alabama can win the game. Again, I wouldn't pick them to win the game, but I definitely see a way in which a path to victory. Whereas I don't see, if NC State plays Purdue, I think Purdue wins 9 and 10. 9 out of 10.
Yes.
I think Alabama, I think UConn is more of a 6 or 7 and 10.
Okay. My final question for you, Doug. If it pans out the way that you say it will, a week from tonight, Purdue, UConn, does UConn get the repeat, or does Purdue knock them off after being bounced out of the tournament after last year's loss to another 16 seed?
I think Purdue wins national championship.
Okay.
Wow.
I think, listen, I think UConn can rattle them. UConn do a lot of things, but UConn's a bully.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know who else is a bully? Purdue is a bully.
Yes.
I mark my words. People will walk away from that game. Well, let's reconvene Tuesday.
Okay.
Because Tuesday people are like, what did I just watch? Was that good? Was that not good? I don't know. Like, I think UConn's probably better than them. I think UConn's awesome. But I also think, again, that first time you see Zach Edey, I mean, Donovan Clingan's big. He's 7'2", long wingspan. He's 7'4". 7'4". I mean, those two going head to head. And, by the way, they'll probably get into foul trouble, whatever. Now, when both are out, UConn is much better, I think, than Purdue. Because Purdue plays like, hey, what's the old expression, when the cat's away, the mice shall play. Like they start taking some bad shots, and it's not great. So I think UConn's better, but I just have this suspicion that, again, losing the 16 seed like Virginia, come back winning a tough physical game. I love the matchup for them on Saturday, so I don't think they'll have a crazy tough game. I think Purdue wins ugly physical game against UConn.
So, Doug, look, man, thank you as always for taking time out of your schedule to join us. Going ahead and let everybody know where they can listen to the Doug Gottlieb Show and have a blast getting ready to call and, of course, watch the Final Four and the national championship.
Well, as far as the tournament's concerned, I get a chance to pregame, halftime, postgame on Westwood One. So if you're driving around, you're listening to the Final Four, you hear my voice, me and Jason Horowitz. On a daily basis, you can listen to us at Fox Sports Radio or foxsportsradio.com. You can download the pod on the iHeartRadio app. Man, it's a pleasure. Roll damn Tide, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much, and have a great week, okay?
You too.
So, Heath, a quick little scheduling note. Tomorrow evening, Alabama baseball is on the road, so we will not be having a show on Tuesday evening. On Wednesday, we are going to do a preview of WrestleMania this weekend with Diamond Dallas Page, and then we will be back on Thursday with more in-depth talk about the Final Four with Chris Lee. That is what is ahead on this week's editions of the Stingray Show. And Heath, we are done for this evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another Stingray Show. We hope that you have thoroughly enjoyed it with Doug Gottlieb. Please be weather aware tomorrow here in West Alabama, because there is a threat of severe weather moving into the area between 4 and 9 p.m. tomorrow evening. So have multiple ways of receiving warnings. And guys, we will see you right back here on Wednesday evening. We are done.
I got more Final Four teams than Doug Gottlieb. That's a bragging right for me.
Yeah, but y'all both had Arizona.
Yeah.
Are you guys sick?